4 wins in a row has Syracuse at 6-2 on the year. Now let the real fun begin. Georgetown, Syracuse, Ewing, Boeheim. The Carrier Dome is always rocking when the Hoyas are in town. Let's break it all down. Owen, Valentine, Cameron, Macaulay. I'm No Eagle. Welcome to this web edition of Cuse Countdown. Guys, what's your favorite Big East moment?
Oh, it's got to be that 6 overtime game. UConn, Syracuse in the Garden. Eric Devendorf jumps onto the board and really just probably the greatest.
You're going to have to refresh memory on this. Might still be the ACC, but the Tyler Run is supposed to be over Pitt.
First year of the ACC,
that
yes.
was the buffer. First moment I really got into as a Syracuse fan.
It's a crossover. I'll accept it. I know that CitrusTV's own Connor Federico would not. But
it's a real Big East moment.
Fair enough, fair enough. Earlier this week with a commanding win over Northeastern, Syracuse, as I mentioned, 6-2 on the year, 72-49 was the win on that one. But one thing that was a little puzzling for the Orange, Tyus Battle, 2 points. Frank Howard, 2 points. Last year, that would have been a problem if those two only scored a combined 4. But this year, that's not the case. How much better really is it if it's now those veteran stars, quote unquote, aren't scoring at the level that they were last year? How much easier is it for Jim Boeheim to say, hey, we've got these role players?
Well, not even that. You look at this, and the one stat that really stuck out to me is Tyus Battle played 29 minutes. No turnovers. Frank Howard, 22 minutes, a 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. It's not like they're not scoring. They're not scoring, but they have that ability to still distribute, still make plays, and it's really a good sign to see these players step up. Boeheim with 11. You saw Cuse with 17 and Chukwu with 8. These guys are stepping up, and even when your top players aren't doing what they necessarily are supposed to, they're able to excel.
Yeah, and O'Shea Brissett with the clutch 21 on that. It's a great thing because this team suddenly has multiple options. They're not relying on one guy, 2 guys. If someone's cold, someone else has a good game. We saw it. Elijah Hughes got cold. Tyus Battle took over against Cornell. Against Northeastern, it's the exact opposite. Tyus Battle's cold and Elijah Hughes goes off. The versatility on this team means they're not going to have a lot of silly losses because guys just aren't hitting the ball.
Well, I think that's a great point because Elijah Hughes only took 3 shots against Cornell, and then he comes back with those 17 points and reestablishes himself within this offense. And they've all talked about it, all the players this year. Tyus Battle said last year defenses would pack it in against him. Now there's a little bit more space, a little bit more room for him to work, so that's all good and well for Tyus in his junior campaign. And this is a rivalry game. I mean, there's no really questioning that. I guess we could because they're not in the same conference anymore. Georgetown's still in the Big East. Syracuse, of course, is in the ACC. But when we go through some of the moments of this game, Michael Graham punching in the 1990s. Manley Fieldhouse is officially closed. Pearl Washington game winner against Georgetown. At the end of the day, is this a rivalry? Truly, is this still a rivalry?
I think it is. And even though maybe in the area around Central New York, it's died down a little bit, where it hasn't died down is the Syracuse bench. Jerry McNamara still on this bench as an assistant coach, and I'll flash you back to 2006 in the Big East tournament. Syracuse trailed by 15 at half. Jerry McNamara leads them back against Georgetown for the win and inevitably the Big East tournament championship. So as long as he's on the bench and you've got Buddy Boeheim who's grown up in this rivalry, grown up in this hatred, even though maybe things have died down a little bit, I think there's still blood boiling.
Yeah, I would guess this is probably more of a rivalry for Georgetown now than SU, but that doesn't mean these two teams don't hate each other. And I can tell you, Jim Boeheim has endless stories upon stories of why this rivalry still exists. Syracuse might be on to bigger and better things in the ACC, but that Big East blood is still boiling between these two teams.
Well, with an ACC schedule that is growing, this rivalry, so to speak, could actually be in the past because there is no guarantee that these two teams continue to play after this season. But I know Syracuse fans don't want that to happen. Right now, let's focus on this game this coming weekend. Syracuse needs the win because they really need to run the table in non-conference if they want to make the tournament and want to make some noise. How can they do it?
You know, my key to the game for Syracuse is to rise to the occasion. They have a great opportunity here. Coming in on a 4-game win streak, have an opportunity to make it 5 in a row, 2-0 on the week, and with a quality win against a decent Georgetown team, I think this might propel them back into the top 25, which really lifts an incredible weight off of Syracuse's shoulders.
I tell you, this might still be a non-conference game, but they're going to have to play Big East basketball if they want to win this game because this is the most important game of the year for Georgetown unless they get into the tournament. This is the game Patrick Ewing wants them to win more than any other game, and we saw it last year. His guys are going to be all over the place. They're going to be playing dirty even a little bit. So Syracuse has to be very physical. They have to go hard on the glass. They have to go hard defending the paint, foul guys hard, get to every loose ball, because this is the kind of game where the team that has the most loose balls, and it's a cliche, but the team that wants it more is going to win this game.
That's okay. Cliches are accepted if they're good ones, and that certainly was a good one. Although you are wearing Georgetown colors a little bit with the gray look. Do you have the Hoyas in this game?
I do not. I have Syracuse 66-61. I think this game will be close because it's a rivalry game.
That's a Big East score.
Any preconceptions about this can just get thrown out the window. These are two games that are going to play really physical, but we talked about it. This team's scoring versatility is such a big asset to them that they're going to have one guy who has a good night scoring. I don't know if you can say the same for Georgetown. Outside of Jesse Govan, there's not a whole lot of depth there. So I think Syracuse does pull it away. The raucous crowd in the carry-down will get to it, and we'll get a nice Syracuse win.
Yeah, very similar points on my end here. I think it's going to be a very similar score as well. I've got Syracuse taking this one 68-62, and as you mentioned, it's going to be that grinded-out Big East type game. Lower scoring, a really defensive matchup, and a guy who you left out that's really just an explosive player for Georgetown, Mac McClung. I know I've watched him all throughout high school. He doesn't necessarily have that three-point shooting ability, but he's an explosive player, explosive athlete, and he can really do anything on the court.
Mac McClung, if you can keep him out of the lane, though, I think you can really kind of mute him, and the zone should be good for that. So I wouldn't expect Mac McClung to have a phenomenal game.
That is certainly an interesting point on both ends of it, because Jesse Govan is one who can dominate on the inside, and Pascal Chukwu might have his hands full. Barama Sidibe might have his hands full, but Mac McClung, especially in transition, can be an absolute monster. So watch out for those few players. That's all the time we have on this web edition of Cuse Countdown. Make sure to follow us on social media at CitrusTV Sports and watch all of our content at CitrusTV.com. For Owen, Valentine, Cameron Macaulay, and the rest of our Cuse Countdown crew, I'm Noah Eagle saying so long. We'll see you next time.